There was a time when her music hit and the air itself seemed to tighten. Crowds didn't just cheer. They erupted. Signs with her name shook in the stands. People leaned forward in their seats because they knew they were about to witness something bigger than wrestling. She wasn't supposed to be here. Not like this. In a world built for giants, she was the one who kicked the door off its hinges. The industry didn't crown her. She crowned herself, and in doing so, she rewrote what it meant to be a main event star. The transformation was seismic. From overlooked undercard performer to the man, the swaggering, sharp-tongued force who refused to wait her turn. She wasn't playing a role. She was living her truth in front of millions. Unfiltered and unapologetic, it resonated because it was real. She bled in the ring and then smiled through the crimson, and the audience knew it wasn't an act. Her rise wasn't built on one moment, but 1,000 little rebellions. Every time she stood toe-to-toe with someone the system said she couldn't beat and didn't flinch. Every promo that didn't sound rehearsed, but felt like a challenge thrown in your face. Every win that was supposed to belong to someone else, but somehow ended with her hand raised. It was more than a push from creative. It was a movement. And movements are dangerous because they don't need permission to happen. She tapped into something primal in the audience. The part that aches to see the underestimated take everything. She made you believe that the impossible was just another Tuesday for her. Wrestling thrives on characters, but she blurred the line until no one could tell where the performer ended and the person began. She became a rallying cry, a symbol of defiance. The type of figure that doesn't just carry a division, they redefine it. And with that came the crown, not the scripted one, but the kind forged in arenas across the world. Built from the roars of people who didn't just watch her, they lived through her for a brief, white-hot period. She wasn't chasing the spotlight. She was the spotlight. Everything else in the industry orbited around her. But every myth has a cost, and every rise cast a shadow. When she stood at the top, the view was intoxicating. Every main event, every promo segment, every magazine cover, it all confirmed what the crowd had been chanting for months. She was untouchable. The company cashed in on her momentum, putting her face on posters, loading her schedule with title defenses, media tours, and endless appearances. But the truth behind the curtain was less glamorous. The road never ended. Cities blurred together. Sleep became a luxury she rarely afforded. Her body ached in ways even adrenaline couldn't mask. Every match carried the risk of injury, and every promo was another chance to slip up under the pressure of millions watching. She had to be the man everywhere, not just in the ring, airports, charity events, interviews, fan meet and greets, smiling, joking, never letting them see the weight she carried. It wasn't just about staying relevant. It was about staying perfect. And perfection in wrestling is an illusion. Every week meant finding new ways to make the audience feel something, to keep the fire burning when the matches piled up and storylines started to recycle. She wasn't just wrestling opponents. She was wrestling the creeping fear of becoming predictable. There's a cruel truth about the peak. It's not built for rest. The higher you climb, the faster the wind cuts against you. Every win made her a bigger target. Every championship reign raised the stakes for the next one. Rivals weren't just trying to beat her in the ring. They were trying to take her spot in the cultural hierarchy. She carried the division on her back because that's what icons do. But carrying that weight came with invisible fractures. Friends became competitors. The locker room dynamic shifted. Every handshake could hide a challenge. Every smile could mask resentment. Behind the curtain, she felt it. The subtle pull of change. New stars rising. Creative teams whispering about fresh directions. Matches she once would have been handed without question now required negotiation, and still, she pushed harder. Because the moment you slow down, the machine doesn't stop. It just replaces you. She kept grinding, kept fighting, kept smiling for the cameras, all while knowing that the same system that elevated her was already searching for its next man. It didn't happen in one night. There was no single match, no headline-grabbing moment that marked the turn. It was quieter than that, like watching the tide go out without realizing it. S already pulled the sand from under your feet. First came the storylines that felt smaller, matches that didn't main event anymore, feuds that lacked the spark, the gravity, the sense of urgency that used to define her presence. Then came the subtle changes in how the company talked about her, still respectful, still acknowledging her place in history, but with just enough distance to let others fill the space she once dominated. Backstage, you could feel it in the air, the rotation of priorities. Creative meetings that once revolved around her now turned toward the next Kent, Miss Project. The industry loves its legends, but it loves its shiny new investments. Even more, she knew the business. She knew the rules. This wasn't personal. It was inevitable. The wheel keeps turning, and if you're not the one steering, you're just along for the ride. The newer faces were hungry, and they should be. They brought fresh styles, new merchandise, and built-in social media followings that corporate could market instantly. She'd been the disruptor once. Now she was the establishment. And in wrestling, the establishment is meant to be challenged. For the audience, it was a slow erosion. Some still roared for her, still held up signs with her slogans. But the noise was no longer deafening every time she walked through the curtain. Her matches still drew interest, but not like the days when the entire arena stood before the bell even rang. The shift wasn't just in perception, it was an opportunity. Big moments were handed to others. Pay-per-view spotlights tilted toward new names. She was still there, still fighting, but no longer the axis around which the division spun. And that's the cruel truth the fans rarely see. In wrestling, you can still be great and still be losing ground. Not because you failed, but because the machine has decided to move on. She could feel the momentum slipping, even if no one dared to say it out loud. And that's the part that cuts the deepest. When you're still giving everything, still pushing to be undeniable, and you can feel that it's no longer enough. The persona she built was too good, too sharp, too iconic. The man wasn't just a nickname, it was a brand, a movement, a declaration that she had fought her way to the top and dared anyone to knock her down. But now, that very identity was starting to weigh her down. When she walked through the curtain, the fans still expected that version of her, the defiant firebrand who never flinched, who always seemed one step ahead. But personas are snapshots in time, and time had moved on. The world she once tore apart had been rebuilt around her, and in that new world, the same words and gestures didn't land with the same impact. It's the paradox of success. Once you've set a bar so high, even your best days can feel like you're falling short. Every promo was compared to the ones that lit the industry on fire. Every match was measured against the classics she'd already delivered. The very crowd that helped build her now unconsciously held her prisoner to her own peak. And in wrestling, nostalgia can be a dangerous thing. It can make the audience love you for who you were instead of who you are. That's when the whispers start. She's still good, but those 3 words can gut a career faster than any injury. Backstage, the expectations hadn't lowered either. She was the veteran now, the one young talent looked to for guidance, the one the company trusted to anchor a segment even if the story wasn't strong. That's respect, but it's also a sign. It means they know you can carry the load, even if it's no longer the load. That leaves the show. She could have coasted, cashed the checks, leaned into the nostalgia, and enjoyed the comfortable role of being a beloved figure. But comfort was never her style. The problem was, no matter how much she tried to adapt, the audience still saw her through the lens of her greatest hits. And that's the hardest shadow to step out of, the one you cast yourself. Every night now feels like a proving ground, not to the rookies, not to management, but to herself. The cheers are still there, but they don't swell the way they once did. The chants still echo, but they aren't shaking the rafters anymore. She can feel the gap, and she hates it, so she pushes harder. Every promo is sharper, more personal, more biting. Every match has an extra gear, a stubborn refusal to be outdone. The miles on her body don't matter when she is in the ring, because out there, for those 15 or 20 minutes, she can still feel like her. But there's a difference between fighting for glory and fighting for relevance. Glory comes with momentum, relevance requires climbing 4 inches. The machine has already shifted focus, and the truth is brutal. No matter how good she is, the tide won't turn unless the people watching demand it. She tries everything, reinventing her look, switching up her style, leaning into storylines that challenge her to show new sides of her character. But the industry moves fast, and the shelf life of reinvention is shorter than ever. Today's breakthrough is tomorrow's forgotten segment. Still, she refuses to fade. She watches tapes of her past matches, studies the competition, looks for weaknesses to exploit. She treats every opportunity like it could be her last, because in wrestling, it very well could be. Yet there's a cruel psychological twist. The more she chases the magic of the past, the further away it feels. She's not just competing against the roster, she's competing against her own legend. And that's a fight no one can fully win. But here's the part most don't see. She still loves it. The roar of the crowd, even if it's not deafening. The moment her music hits, even if it doesn't stop the world. It's not about being the man anymore. It's about proving to herself she's still worth watching. Because deep down, she knows, once they stop watching, it's over. Every career in this business reaches the crossroads. Some see it coming and step aside gracefully. Others fight until the very last bell, refusing to let the crowd decide their ending. She is standing right there now, staring down the question that every great performer eventually faces. What is left to prove? Walking away would be the easy route. She's made her mark, built her legacy, headline shows that will be replayed for decades. She's earned the right to rest, to disappear into a quieter life far from the constant travel, the bruises, the endless fight for attention. But quiet doesn't fit her. It never has. Reinvention is the other path, but it's the riskier one. Reinvention means burning parts of yourself you've spent years building. It means letting go of the safety net, abandoning the familiar catchphrases, the tried and true reactions, and stepping into untested territory. It could fail spectacularly, or it could create something even bigger than what came before. Right now, she's caught in that space between defiance and doubt. The fire is still there, but it burns differently, less reckless, more deliberate. She knows she can still go toe-to-toe with anyone in the ring. The question is whether she can make the world feel that again. The truth is, the story isn't finished. Not yet. Every time she laces up her boots, there's a chance to flip the script, a chance to remind the industry and herself why she was the one who forced her way into the spotlight in the first place. But legacies aren't written in comfort. They're written in moments where you decide whether to fade into the history books or to fight for one more line. And somewhere in her gut, she knows if there's a line left to write, she's not done holding the pen.